Ding dong, clatter, clatter, bang, bang, bang. Are you kidding me? Let me in right now. Do you want everyone to see me causing a scene here? Is this how you treat your husband who's been working on Christmas and comes home to this mess? My husband was furious, pounding on the gate of my family's home. Christmas is usually a special time for us, just before the big day. I accidentally found an envelope recently that revealed my husband's betrayals. As a wife and mother, I've been living through miserable and hopeless days since then. He had been working late, he said, but really he was spending our money on his girlfriend. He barely even bought presents for our kids. I couldn't stand it anymore. I opened the door and confronted him in front of my family. And then, what? What's going on? I'm just an ordinary housewife, living with my husband and 2 children. Depending on your values, some people might spend Christmas Eve with a boyfriend or girlfriend and Christmas Day with their family. And that's how it was for me. I have a brother and a sister, and since we were young, if any of us were dating someone, we'd spend Christmas Eve with them. Our family does things a bit differently from others. We don't always celebrate Christmas on the 25th because of our jobs. Both our parents and us have work that keeps us busy even on holidays. So instead, we made our own tradition, celebrating Christmas when we all had time off during the winter break. We'd cook together, enjoy cake, and watch special year-end TV shows. As we grew up and became independent, my brother, sister, and I kept up this tradition in our own ways. A few years ago, I got married and had children of my own. At first, celebrating Christmas Eve with my husband and our child was a joyful time. But over time, our relationship changed from being romantic partners to focusing more on our family as a whole. Christmas Eve started to feel more like a routine than a special occasion. Eventually, we both agreed that our children's happiness was what mattered most at Christmas. Any discussion about what to do on Christmas Eve slowly faded away. So when my husband said, "Sorry, I might be stuck at work overnight on the 24th. The kids celebrate Christmas on the 25th, right? I'll try to be back by then," it felt like a natural progression of how our Christmas traditions had evolved. I wasn't particularly emotional when I realized my husband wouldn't be home for Christmas Eve. It was just another sign of how our relationship had changed over time. Despite this, I still love him deeply and I'm content with our life together. So I focused on preparing for our kids' Christmas alone, considering it another form of happiness. Hey, is this all the money we have for living expenses this month? Did something unusual happen with your paycheck? I hate to sound critical, but expenses always pile up at year-end. I was hoping we could stretch our budget a bit more with Christmas coming up in about a month. I was shocked to see that the money my husband gave for living expenses was significantly less than usual. I quickly pleaded with him. If I could have managed it, I would have done so already. Things are tight on my end too. There are work-related parties and expenses that I have to cover upfront for the new year. Do you think I enjoy cutting back like this? Managing our budget with limited resources is also a crucial part of being a housewife, isn't it? My husband seemed visibly frustrated and avoided looking at me or talking further. You're right, sorry. I'll do my best too, but it's almost Christmas, right? The kids are eagerly waiting for their special presents. Please, for their sake, let's make this time of year special. I don't want us to not afford their gifts. In our family, there's a rule. Normally, if the kids want something, they have to explain why they need it. But for birthdays and Christmas, they can ask for anything without conditions. That's why I wanted to ensure we have enough money for them, thinking about how much they love Christmas. Honey, let's be a bit more careful with our spending. Kids, what do you want for Christmas? My husband sighed loudly and called the kids over. I want a cartoon DVD set, but I also want a picture book about trains, Dad. Which one do you think is better? Well, the book, definitely. It will help you learn to read, and you can share it with your friends at their houses. You could even read it to younger friends. You'd be such a cool big boy. I really want a new doll set so I can feed it and sleep with it, but my crayons broke recently and now I can't draw. I wonder which wish Santa will grant. I think crayons would be great, Lena. You're so talented at drawing, and I love seeing your artwork. Ask Santa for some really nice ones, even better than the ones you had before. But what about the dolls? Can't you listen to what I want? Santa only visits good children. Naughty kids who are selfish get nothing. I'll ask for crayons. While pretending to listen to the kids, my husband clearly pushed them towards the cheaper options. Aaron's gift can be from a used bookstore, and Lena's gift can be from the dollar store. This way, we won't have to spend extra money on Christmas. Do you think spending money is the only solution? How foolish, he sneered, making sure only I could hear him. Extra expenses? That's not saving money. My husband called our children's eagerly anticipated presents extra expenses, manipulating their innocent minds to suit his agenda. I began to deeply resent such behavior from my husband. Then, after a while, Mom, look, a sparkly letter. It was in Dad's work bag. Could it be from Santa? While my husband was in the bath, My daughter had apparently opened his work bag and excitedly showed me the beautifully decorated envelope she found. You shouldn't have taken that without asking. Give it here and I'll put it back, okay? What could it be? I took the envelope from my daughter. Since it hadn't been opened, curiosity got the better of me and I peeked inside. A reservation for a Christmas dinner for 2 at a hotel on the 24th. But he was supposed to be working overnight on the 24th. Several questions raced through my mind. Just then, my husband's phone made a notification sound. Startled, I glanced over at his phone. It seemed to be getting a flurry of messages in a short span of time. Normally, I wouldn't pay much attention to his phone or how often it rang, but with a sense of unease, I reached for it. What's going on? My eyes fixed on the screen. All the messages flooding my husband's phone were from someone named Nancy. Judging by the selfie that appeared to be her profile picture, she was much younger than me. Although I couldn't see the content of the messages, the heart emojis made it clear they were not just from a casual acquaintance. It seemed too coincidental. A small dark suspicion about my husband began to grow within me. Once I started doubting him, it was hard to let go of those feelings. For the next few days, I found myself sneaking peeks at my husband's phone. Those days were enough to turn my suspicions into conviction. Nancy was likely my husband's mistress, and he planned to spend the Christmas dinner with her on the 24th. He even hinted at an extra special gift for her, that her excitement for each other uncontainable. To get more concrete information, I hired a private investigator. Catching my overly confident husband in the act seemed easy, and the results came back quickly. According to the investigation, Nancy was a temp at my husband's company. They had started their affair a month ago, and all the nights he told me he was working late were actually spent with Nancy. The recent drastic cut in our living expenses was likely to fund his affair with her. Clutching the investigator's report, tears of frustration overflowed. In just 1 month, my husband had come to prioritize another woman over his family. My efforts in taking care of the house, believing he was busy with work, and our children's kindness in holding back their desire to play with their father, all felt unbearably pathetic. The shock of my husband's betrayal was too significant to ignore. I didn't know what to do at first, but I have a plan of my own. I won't let this slide without a fight. Wiping away my tears, I stood up energetically and began to prepare my own special gift for my husband. On the morning of December 24th, I sent off my husband as usual, then I headed to my parents' house with the kids. Welcome. It's been so long since we've all been together like this. It feels just like when you, your brother, and your sister used to live here, my mom said. Spending quality time with Dad is great, but this year felt especially exciting. At my parents' house, they were delighted by the festive Christmas atmosphere, enjoying decorating a large Christmas tree they had pulled out of storage. With the kids, we spent the entire day having a fun Christmas party. The next morning, the kids were ecstatic about the presents placed at the base of the Christmas tree they had decorated. For my son, I got a DVD and a picture book, and for my daughter, a doll and crayons. We told them these gifts were from Santa and also from Grandpa and Grandma. The kids played happily with their new toys while the adults watched them with smiles. Suddenly, my phone buzzed. I looked at my phone and saw I had a call. I stepped outside to answer it. It was my husband, sounding very upset. Hey, where are you? I just got home from work, but my key doesn't fit the lock, and the doorbell isn't working. What's going on? I could hear him messing with the door handle through the phone. Calm down, you're making a lot of noise. No one is there because we don't live there anymore. We finished moving out yesterday. You were too busy with work to notice, I guess. By the way, you've been shaking that doorknob for a while. Isn't that kind of like trying to break in? If you break the door, it's not my problem. I laughed at him. Even though he was still confused, he realized I had tricked him and started yelling angrily. Don't mess with me. Doing all this without telling me. Where did you put my stuff? Bring it back now. All your things were taken by your parents yesterday. They kept apologizing to me, saying how sorry they were for what you did. Make sure to apologize to them when you get back. What? Huh? After finding out about my husband's affair, I told both our families everything. I explained how he was obsessed with a younger woman named Nancy, spending our money on her instead of on our family. He even cut down on our living expenses and the kids' Christmas gifts. He lied about working overnight just to be with her, and I decided to ask for a divorce. After I told everyone through tears, my parents, his parents, our siblings, and even the kids supported my decision. So we moved out of the house on Christmas Eve while my mother took care of the children. Our siblings also helped with the move. With everyone's help, we emptied the house quickly, which brings us to now. So everyone knows what you've done, and no one in the family is on your side. You caused this mess, and now you have to deal with it. I explained everything to my husband clearly. By the time I finished explaining everything, my husband was furious and started shouting at me. You worthless woman! Your disrespectful attitude towards me, your husband, is the real problem here. I am the precious only son, you know. Blaming others while you're no saint yourself, acting all high and mighty. My parents siding with you. Ha, you must have played the victim and cried to them. Who do you think my parents will ultimately believe, their precious son or some outsider woman? You're as foolish as ever, Hava. I'll be demanding alimony from you right away. Oh really? Then go ahead and talk to them now. Here, be my guest. Saying that, I turned on the speakerphone on my cell. Then I never thought you were such a rotten person. Are those the words of someone who has committed adultery? You are the worst. You're the shame of our family. Where did it all go wrong? May and Lars, who had been by my side during the call, unleashed their anger at my husband over the phone. Dad, Mom, why are you with her? My husband began to tremble, utterly taken aback by the unexpected rebuke from his parents. Why? Because it's Christmas. Maitline, who is back at her parents' house, invited us to spend the day with her. Even though we are the parents of the man who betrayed his family. Do you understand how Maitline felt all this time? While you were betraying her, she was working hard to take care of the children on her own. We've never been so ashamed and embarrassed of you. We won't defend you unconditionally. You're an adult and made your choices. Do what you want, but don't involve us again. We refuse to be used by you. May and Lars scolded him, their voices trembling with anger. Their words made me so happy I couldn't hold back my tears. What? You're at Maitline's parents' house. Anyway, I'm coming over, so listen to my side of the story. It's unfair to only hear one side at times like these, right? You'll see who the real victim is, right, Dad? Regardless of our situation, my husband tried to win his parents over, but it was pointless. Without listening to his claims, my father-in-law hung up and turned off the phone after saying a few words to me. Then he turned off all our phones, including Maitline's, and said, "Let's go back inside. The kids are waiting for their mom." My father-in-law said this with a gentle smile, and my mother-in-law gently patted my back. We all went back inside together. We then had the most enjoyable Christmas party ever, with delicious food, cake, and the children singing and dancing. As the night went on and the children fell asleep, the adults were relaxing when the doorbell started ringing non-stop. Tension filled the room. Everyone knew who would show up uninvited at this hour. Yes, it's me. Open the door. Are you going to leave me out in the cold on a winter night? My husband not only kept pressing the doorbell but also started rattling the doorknob as if he might break it. Panic set in, and I was about to go to the door when my parents stopped me. I looked at everyone, nodded, and decided to speak to my husband through the door. Did you forget? Christmas Eve is for lovers and Christmas is for family, right? We're all having a lovely Christmas together as a family. Did you have a nice Christmas Eve with Nancy? Now that we're strangers, I don't care what happens to you today. If you don't want to sleep outside in the cold, just leave. Don't provoke me. Should I call the police? Spread rumors in the neighborhood that a cruel wife kicked out her husband for no reason. Open this door right now. No matter what I said, my husband refused to listen and continued causing a scene outside. I started feeling afraid at his persistence. Trembling, my father-in-law smoothly stood up. He exchanged glances with my mother-in-law, who also rose to follow him. My parents and I hurried to the front door with them. When my father opened the door, expecting me to give in, my husband stood there defiantly. "Long time no see, Dad," my husband said smugly. "It's not good to see you. Stop pretending we're friends. You're no longer a son to us, just someone who hurt our family," my father interrupted coldly. My mother joined in, causing a scene at this hour. "Do you even know what time it is? It's incredibly rude. The kids have been asleep for hours. You're not fit to be their father." She glared at him sternly. My husband was shocked to see my usually gentle mother so stern. "I won't let my grandchildren see this anymore. Leave. You're a nuisance. You're no longer part of this family." My father-in-law spoke calmly but with anger, making it clear my husband had to leave. My husband glared at us, looking like he might explode. "I'm calling the police right now," my mother-in-law said firmly. Seeing her pick up the phone, my husband panicked and fled without saying a word of apology. It was another stark reminder of who he truly was. I didn't cry anymore, but I felt an emptiness inside, questioning the purpose of everything I had been through until then. "How about some warm tea, and then you can get some rest?" My mother gently touched my shoulder with a kind smile. Everyone welcomed me back with warmth and understanding. I went to my room, grateful for the unwavering support of my family. Meanwhile, my husband, now without a home, went to his parents' house. They had changed the locks after hearing my side of the story, so he couldn't get in. They turned him away when they returned, unwilling to let a stranger into their home. Left out in the cold, my husband finally realized the gravity of his actions and his parents' words. Now he sincerely regrets his actions and has agreed to the divorce and alimony. I had a lawyer ready just in case, but thankfully it didn't turn into a messy legal battle. After the divorce was finalized, I started a new life at my parents' house with my children. I'm focused on my work and raising my kids with the loving support of my parents. It's busy, but every day feels meaningful. Although I won't see my ex-husband again, I stay in touch with my in-laws. They're wonderful grandparents to my children and a great support to me. Even though we're no longer family on paper, I hope they'll always be part of our lives and continue to watch over the children as they grow. Do you both have everything? Let's go. Don't forget to say goodbye to Grandma and Grandpa. Bye. I silently prayed for these ordinary, peaceful days to last forever and looked forward to celebrating next Christmas together as a family, seeing my children's happy smiles.